Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler at Dick Powell's Leadership Corner, brought to you by Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, where our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. Leaders, today we're going to look at something, and before we do, I need to tell you this. The information on today's program was gathered from many different places and many different people. So if you see yourself in with a conversation that's about to appear, it's not all about you. For speaking engagements and appearances, just give us a call here at 727-422-1833. And here at Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, we'll be glad to help you out best we can. Now, today's program, let's talk about it. It's entitled, So, You've Got a Great Idea. You know, it's funny. People come to me all the time with great ideas, and when I was in corporate world, people would come through those doors all the time. You see, you've got a great idea, and many reasons that it is. You feel hands down it's the best move for your company. You walk into the conference room feeling confident and prepared to make your case amongst your peers. Surely everyone will see the wisdom in your plan and agree that it's the right course and right action right now. Well, not necessarily. There's some things that happen during that time. First of all, I'm going to encourage you to tailor your approach. You see, the challenge is that everyone thinks a little differently and has a different agenda. So to get them on board, you might have to have a different approach for each person within that board. For example, let's say you're in a board full of executives. You need to convince the CEO that your idea supports the company's vision and mission. The CFO will want to know what it means on the bottom line, and the COO might want to hear a step-by-step plan for executing your idea. And the vice presidents, well, they'll be curious about how proposed changes will affect their individual divisions. You see, each person there has a different thought process, and tailoring our conversation to them is going to be most important. You need to know who you're talking to. Another really interesting piece here. When you understand what drives each individual, and here I'm going to encourage you that you need to have done your homework prior to. In other words, who's going to be in the boardroom? Who are you going to be talking to? Do you know them? Do you know how they think? Do you know what their interests are? But you need to, by knowing each individual, you have a better chance of getting them on your side, actually listening to what you have to present. Here are just a few personality types that you might need to win over as you go in. First of all, you're going to run into those people who are numbers people. Now, numbers people, well, they're very analytical. They're logical. They're data-driven thinkers. They don't really care about the passion or the idealistic notion, or even how much you think or love what's going to happen. They want statistics, facts, and figures. Show how your idea will save the company money and to better utilize the resources. This is one of the biggest parts as you're putting together a plan or submitting a proposal, to make sure that you have people in your team just like the people you're going to be presenting to. So having a numbers person on your team is going to be really critical, because they're going to make sure that those questions are answered before you get into the room. You're going to have some hard-nosed people. These are the skeptics in the room, either because that's just what they are there to do, or because they're testing your confidence. They're not going to just take your word for it. So with these folks, you must show, not tell. Provide concrete examples, testimonials, and best practices that have worked well for other companies, other situations, in other places. These hard-nosed people sometimes are what I say, they're not really negative, but they're going to take and combat everything that you say. You see, they're the ones who are going to be the big questioners. They're going to really put the thought process into most everyone else sitting around that boardroom table. Now, if you're lucky enough, you're going to have some, what I think, conventional thinkers. You see, these people do not want anything new. Now, that's a plus for you. They want improvement rather than overhauling the system. In other words, they like to see the way things are right now, but they can possibly be expanded and made better. You see, they prefer to take what worked in the past and then make it better. So you need to know if they're in the room, that's where you're going to dedicate some time in your presentation. Demonstrate respect to the past by saying things like, here's what is working and here's my idea how to improve a few things. Don't use the word change, use the word improve. You see, that will take and get them quickly where you need to be. Also understand that these people are not risk takers, so give them the facts that prove your ideas are going to work, and the risk is minuscule. So conventional thinkers are good to have in the room if you think about it. Now, the highly competitive people that are going to be in your room, this is where you need to be kind of careful. You see, these people want to exceed expectations. They're highly motivated to win and want to impress customers or stakeholders. They like things done their way and seek recognition and visibility for themselves. Reinforce how your idea will result in a win-win for everyone, especially them. This lets them oftentimes take your idea and run with it and makes them think that they've actually thought of them themselves. Not a terrible thing, but I have to tell you, you have to understand how their brain works. In their world, it's all about them. And you need to find a way to use words that they're going to understand how it's going to be a benefit for them. Now, I always say to people when they come to me and ask me about this presentation opportunity, do not take it personally, no matter what anybody says. You need to remain calm and cool. If you start really having to, stand by and re-explain your proposal, maybe you don't know it well enough to go in there. Finally, I'm going to encourage you to prepare yourself for the fact that you might not convince everyone within the room. You must see yourself as an objective mediator with the purpose of reaching a mutually satisfying result. You understand what that says? Even if you have done your homework, anticipated reactions, and tailored your approach to address everyone's unique perspective, some people in the meeting could still disagree with you. It does not mean that they don't have good intentions or don't respect you. And conflict or disagreement is natural in any organization when there's more than one person in the room. It is part of our every relationship and is healthy when managed with maturity and personal responsibility. So don't take it personal. Take it as a learning opportunity and figure out where you need to go and how you need to get there. Become a master of selling your ideas and how to not really win everybody over, but get them to all understand where you're coming from, where you're going, and why does it benefit the whole company, the whole group, organization. So here's some things I'm going to share with you on how to build that rapport and get them on your side. First of all, I'm going to encourage you greatly to know the lay of the land. Before you pitch your ideas, gather as much information as possible about the people whose support you will need. That way you can anticipate their reactions and tailor your approach to meet their various agendas. This really means about building some kind of rapport or relationship with those people in the room prior to you going into the boardroom and prior to you giving your approach. Oftentimes, you'll find by passing ideas by people that you know will be on the boardroom before you actually go to the meeting, just passing by the thought process before you get there, they're liable to give you their opinion right then, or they're liable to think about it. But at least they'll be prepared to know that, hey, they're going to come and pitch this to us today. That's a heads up for you. When you've done that, you have a better understanding of where they're coming from and where their thinking is going. And you might be able to better tailor your approach for them to listen better. Listen to the words that they use in their normal speech context. This is important because when we're speaking to a group of people trying to rearrange their thought process, if they hear words that they normally use and understand, this will be a much better place for you to lay your cards on the table. Number 2, I would encourage you to paint a picture. Describe in your audience's mind what the future will look like if your plan is implemented. You see, this person that you're speaking to out there loves the story. And they love the whole story, by the way. So they want to know, will your idea give the company a competitive edge? That's important. Move the business forward? How about increasing the revenue? Improving the leadership? And in essence, what is the compelling end result of your plan? If you understand that by itself, I think that that'll give you a heads up on how to do your presentation. But be really clear about the payoff so that others will take ownership and accountability for seeing it through. This is important. This picture you're painting has to be all the parts and pieces. For the numbers people, has to have the numbers. For the longevity people, it has to have the end result. For the people in between, it has to be, how is it going to affect them? You see, there's more to doing a presentation than just putting some things together quickly. This should be a long thought process for you. Number 3, win their hearts and minds. You see, most people operate from both logic and emotion. So make a compelling case. You want to hit both. What I will tell you is people think with logic, but they make decisions with emotion. And that's an important piece. So if your story doesn't ring true to them, or your story doesn't excite them or create a passion within them, you very well might have lost them even before it comes time to make that decision. So go for both. Remember this one key, that facts tell and stories sell. And even though you don't think of this as a selling opportunity, it really truly is. Now, emotions, well, they deliver your stories, metaphors, and visuals with passion. You're going to have to deliver with that deep inside you so they know that you really have a passion about what you're speaking about. Speak from their point of view and emphasize their personal benefits, such as recognition, carving out their own agency, etc. You need to make sure that they understand that the emotional part of it is there. Logic. Provide supporting data, statistics, case studies, testimonials, best practices, presenting companies, things that have worked with other companies. That's the facts. Facts tell, stories sell. And see, stories are all about emotion. And that's where learning to be a great speaker is going to help you. We encourage people when they come to us to learn how to do that, is to really practice the presentation in front of people that they know for a fact are going to turn it down. I like to do that myself personally because that gives me a heads up on what kind of story I need to be really laying down to grab the emotion as I add the logic piece within it. Think about that. Number 4, be transparent. Nobody likes hidden agendas, and nobody likes somebody when they think that you're not telling them the truth. So everyone knows change initiatives usually have some kind of inherent risk. So be upfront about it. When you fail to address the risks, you lose credibility almost immediately. And the opportunity to engage everyone in a discussion about how to minimize or avoid the potential fallout is already done unless you lay it out front. Remember, the unknown is always scarier than reality. So walk them through what could go wrong as well as your plans for addressing the possibilities. You see, when you're up front, you're out ahead. And that's going to be most important when you're talking about the risk. The risk reward in any organization, company, doesn't matter. It matters to the people who are on the board who are making those decisions on how it's going to affect everyone, not just a few, but everyone involved. So address the possibilities right off the bat. Now, this next one I'm going to encourage you to really think about. Number 5, don't go it alone. You see, don't wait until the big meeting to unveil your idea. Instead, do a little legwork ahead of time. This is what I was talking about. Have some informal conversations with decision makers and influencers. This is so important to build that relationship prior to going in the room. Drop in and explain your position. Seeking sponsors who will support your ideas is a must. People who respect and value your opinion is a must. When you know their perspectives ahead of time, you can ask them to speak up in the meeting or even quote them saying, "In my conversation with," he or she brought up this good point. Now that brings another person into the conversation and gives another leg up of respectability and someone who has already looked at it and thought about it. You see, not only does this show that others are on board with your idea, it also lets supporters feel that their ideas are significant. You see, it's building that relationship prior to asking for the end result. Now, number 6 is a little bit harder, but it's to really consult the critics. Now, I've told you before I do this right up front. If you know certain people will be likely to disagree with your idea, have some informal conversations with them before. This gives you an opportunity to hear their objections so that you can be prepared to address them during the meeting. It also gives them time with your idea so that you get more thoughtful response in the meeting, not just to cut off the reaction. This off-the-cuff reaction gives you an opportunity to actually prepare better. But what I found over and over is the people who give me the off-the-cuff reaction sometimes that I think are going to be my critics, when we get into the meeting, I found that they've done their homework and all of a sudden they're not my critics anymore. And they're not because I've taken the time to build a relationship and give them a heads up of what's coming. And because I did that, all of a sudden they're on my side. Pretty amazing thing. Now, I want you to remember that you're not just selling your ideas. At this point, you are also selling yourself. You stand a far greater chance of soliciting consensus when you walk into the meeting feeling prepared, confident, and supported. Supported is the big one there. And supported only comes from building those relationships. And if you're not doing that, or someone has told you not to do that, please walk away from them quickly. So, you think you have a great idea? I think it's wonderful. How are you going to put it forth? Now you need to know. Let's take and make some relationship building time. Let's take and bounce it off some people and find out what they think. Let's really take it to the mat And so we can get all of the disgruntled pieces out of the way. If you're going to go into a meeting and you spend your time defending the idea, you're not ready. And if you feel like you're standing there defending it, it's better to say, may I come back at a later date? Or, just walk out, be done. Say, excuse me, I see we're not going anywhere. Can I come back at a later time to represent or something like that? But if you're sitting there and all you're doing is defending, you're not presenting. And when you're defending, everyone goes on the attack. So I have a great idea. Just remember these few things that you need to put into your arsenal to go in and be a success. Know the lay of the land. Paint a picture. Win their hearts and minds. Emotion. Be transparent. Don't go it alone. Consult the critics. And remember, this is your time to shine. So don't step away. Keep going. Keep going. And always, always make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Now, I want to cover something else with you today because it has come to my attention. I've been getting a lot of questions about this. And the question is partnerships, business partnerships. And I keep coming back to the same thing, is that I'm not really crazy about them. I am going to give you some pieces to look out for. See, as a business consultant, I cringe just a little when I hear the word partner. Here are some things that will make a partnership a long-lasting, good experience, because they can be. First of all, take your time. Getting into a partnership is just like getting married. There needs to be a getting to know you time. You need to talk about and discover if you both are on the same wavelength. Do your skills, work styles, goals, and aims complement one another? It's important. The courtship part, though, needs to be slow. Do not rush through this phase, I warn you. You need to look at and discuss all aspects of each other's lives, and this takes time. You can move through this along if you have known each other for a very long time. I will tell you that even though my wife and I are at the same page, most of the things we still have discovered after many years in business with each other that we still are learning and growing with one another. This means you need to be having the opportunity thought process that I'm going to ongoing continuously learn. You need to take a look at your partner's values, morals, work and personal ethics, their dreams, their passions, their talents, their expectations, and you need to see if they line up with yours. And if they do, you're right on the money here. Now, their values, well, let me just say this to you. Do you both have the same value, the same things? On what values do you operate your life? You will need to write them down and compare and discuss them. They need to be posted where you and everyone that comes and goes in the company sees them. Some suggestions would be, of course, I love the 12 points of Scout Law. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. I love them. They work for me. Doesn't mean they'll work for you and your partner. Morals. What are your rules that govern your life's decisions? Yours, theirs, everywhere around you, and anyone that can be involved with you. Work and personal ethics. You betcha. Principles and values. How will you do business? And what is crossing the line? These are things that need to be discussed and decided long before you sign on the dotted line that you're going to be partners. Dreams for the individual and for the company. This would include long-term and short-term dreams and goals, both personal and business. Think about them. Get them talking. Talk to them. Just tell them what yours are. When we look at the passions, does everyone have the same passion to see the company succeed? Do they still all have that fire in the gut to make this happen? What am I willing to do to get to where I want to go is always a big question that I ask. And does this mean 4 hours a day or 12 hours a day? 2 days a week or 7 days a week? Wear shorts or tank top or a suit? 1 day of vacation, 30 days a year. Lots of different questions are coming up in that discussion. Expectations. What are your expectations of the company and the other people involved within? What are the expectations of yourself and your partner? Expectations are gathered from all the above items, but they need to be written down. You see, they need to be written down so you know exactly and they know exactly and everyone agrees too. It'll save a lot of headaches once you do that. One of these items have been resolved when a written account of each, and each time is decided on team professionals to be on your group. Now, this team of professionals doesn't always have to be on your group the whole time, but you will need a lawyer, you will need an accountant, a certified financial planner, an insurance agent, and I'm going to ensure that you get a consultant or coach and a tax specialist. You see, parts of the partnership document need to be clear and explicit. And when you're looking to do this, we're going to encourage you to contact Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development to get all those parts and pieces so that you don't even miss one. If you miss one, you're going to be in some kind of opportunity. Things within the document itself would be, of course, the name of the business, the term. How long is the business going to be in place? Is this to build it and sell it? Is this to build it and keep it forever? Capital and contributions. Who's bringing what to the table and with them? Is it a 50-50 of both putting up the same amount of money? Or is it one person bringing in sweat equity? Profit and loss. What's you're looking at? What kind of salaries or drawings are you going to be able to take from it? What's the interest, the long-term interest that's going to be made? Management and duties, restrictions, partners' authority. Do they have an ability to sign the checks? Partnership decision making. Or will both of you have to have it 100%, or will one have a better opportunity on it? Adding new partners, that's always a question. Is that something good or not? Banking, what kind of bank are you going to use and who's going to be taking care of it? Who's going to take care of the books and make sure they're up on every day? And there needs to be a clause of voluntary termination. In other words, a partner somewhere down the line can voluntarily back out. What's that mean? Do they mean to be paid off? Do they go out quietly? Do they go out with a scream? It's going to depend on how it's written. What happens if somebody dies in the partnership? Maybe their spouse doesn't want to take this over. You need to write that in there. Resolving disputes. What if two partners have a problem? You need to know how to handle that. Arbitration, and of course, that lovely thing called insurance. When these questions are not answered and the expectations are not met, the results are always the same. Someone is not happy, growth of the company is stymied until the situation is resolved, and the company suffers because the outside world will not start to notice the discord from within, but you will see a collapse within the company. So the question is always the same. What could we have done to make sure that expectations are met and there was no friction between the principals? That's why you always need to ask the question, do I really need a partner? This has been a lot of fun today. I see that we've talked about two major things. We've talked about, so I had an idea, and we've talked about, so I've got a partner. On behalf of myself, Dick Powell, and the whole Leadership Corner team, we want to say thank you for being a part of today's program. Our hope is that you've received a nugget of wisdom and guidance that will help you build your leadership ability. If you have any questions or comments on today's program, don't hesitate. Give us a call, 727-422-1833. Send me an email, dick@ewfw.org. Go to the website, leave us a message, www.ewfw.org. And when you know for a fact that you want me, the Wrangler, to come and give an opportunity speech to you, whether it's a keynote or just a speech, give us a call, 727-422-1833. And until next time, DW the Rank saying, right hard, right fast.